Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here is your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. We have some excitement today. We got a different perspective on social media marketing today. So I have the co-founder and chief marketing officer of Glewee, the easiest and fastest all-in-one influencer marketing platform that connects brands and creators through collaboration and paid social media brand deals. As a co-founder and leader of marketing, he worked closely with the CEO, Dylan Duke, to scale Glewee from his early days of sticky note ideas into a fully fledged brand that it is today. Centered around community, innovation, and fluidity, Glewee's entire brand evolution and refinement have been the labor of love for him and his team that are a bunch of Gen Zers, collaborating, thinking outside the box and, moving things forward that collectively focus on growing industry, disrupting platform. So I thank y'all for tuning in, and I appreciate this gentleman coming on today. I bring you Christian. Christian, thank you very much for coming on.
Maurice, thank you for the very cool, very well thought out intro. I really appreciate that. You hit the nail on the head.
Sure, no problem. So Christian, man, so first of all, the name Glewee is not pronounced the way it's spelled, the way I looked at it, right? So again, this is a idea of thinking outside the box. Right. So how did that name come about? If you have an idea.
Yeah. So we originally, when starting the platform, we were thinking we wanted iOS, web, Android platforms that would connect brands and influencers. So we thought with something that completely didn't exist, right? So we thought we didn't want a word that you could Google and there would be synonymous with like shoes or a water bottle, something like that. So we're like, we want a word that there's no digital identity or track record of. We want to create a new word, create a new brand, create a new idea. So this was at the time like the first app for influencers to join and find deals and the easiest place for brands to work with influencers. So we're like, okay, we want to create something new, create a new brand, create a new identity. And so we thought with like the idea of adhesion. So bringing brands and creators together to empower them to do deals. And then we thought glue, Glue, like the physical glue, as you would glue something to the paper. And then we're like, well, we want to create our own name for it. So we thought with GLEW. And in our first few months of working out with Glue, we built a lot of like SEO and branding around that. Turns out there was an analytic firm that also used Glue in one of their trademarks that was like a little more private. And they were like, hey guys, we kind of have this, whatever. And we were like, okay, that's fine. We wanted a 2-syllable anyways. And so we just added 2 E's to the end, which made it Glewee. And we're like, that is something that's so out of the box and so non-existent in Google or on social or anywhere else. And we're like, Uber is a word that was used to describe quickness, like Uber fast or something, right? But like Uber wasn't a word or a verb before, a popularized one before Uber. So we're like, let's create Glewee. Nice. And so formed off of adhesion, we formed that.
Nice. So think again, keeping with the theme of thinking outside the box. Sometimes we as entrepreneurs, everyday individuals, right? We don't think that we can connect with an influencer. We think we need to be, on the same level as they are or just as out there, whatever it might be. So why will we even consider thinking about working with an influencer just to begin with?
Great question. So Maurice, I'm going to shoot a question back to you and we'll use that as the format for the answer. So let's say that you're an entrepreneur. What brand or what product do you want to use as an example?
So I'll use my clothing line, the Positive Energy T-shirt shop.
Okay, cool. So with the clothing line, at first, when you think about how you're going to grow the business, right? Step 1 is to create a website. Step 2, which is the newer step 2 over the last 20 years, is to create social media pages for it.
Yes.
First, you get the @ name. So you make sure that the at name is the same across all. You add the website, link in the bio, and then you start posting photos on social. Social media is the new way to connect with audiences. It's where people are spending the majority of their time. And funny enough, social media is free to play, right? It really is. As a business owner and entrepreneur, you can post as many times as you want. If you go on Instagram or TikTok and you post reels or TikTok videos, YouTube shorts, those videos can go out based on the algorithm to 10 people, 100 people, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million plus, right? So you're actually like every time you're posting, you're playing that game. So you would set up your website, then you would set up the social media pages. Now you want to get the clothing line or the products in front of the right audience. So now typically you would think with, all right, well, maybe I can go to Meta and buy some Facebook ads, some Instagram ads, or I want to go get some Google ads going, or now there's TikTok ads. Well, that costs a lot of money. But people don't necessarily think when they first think of influencer marketing, they don't think of cost efficient, effective, and cheap. Now, how we build our platform is to do all three of those things. So you can work with influencers on our platform for $100, $200, $250, $350. And that's the catch. These influencers could have anywhere from 10,000 to 10 million followers. It really depends who applies for your campaign. So we've seen brands work with a creator for $100, send the product to the creator. The creator will make special, unique content wearing, in your example, the clothing. They'll then post that to all their social media channels, and they could get hundreds of thousands of views. Now you're exposing your brand to hundreds of thousands of new people. Now, on top of that, with our platform in specific, not only do you get to see all that content, but you actually own that content. So now let's use the example of $1,000 with 10 influencers, 100 apiece. So now you're getting the product out to 10 different people that all have unique audiences that are all following them to learn about new products, new brands, new forms of innovation. And they're creating that content for you. Now they're posting to their socials so they could get anywhere from thousands to hundreds of thousands, millions of views. And you now own that content. So instead of calling up an ad agency or a creative agency for $4,000 a month and signing a 1-year retainer just to make you content of people like your audience wearing your brand and your product. Now the creators are making that content. You own that content in perpetuity to use across your email marketing, across your social media marketing, across your website marketing, across every form of digital touch points that you want. And so not only is influencer marketing a way to get your product in front of a new audience, but also a way to get content made using your product, talking about your service, whatever that may be, to post across all your socials in a very cost-effective manner.
So, you know, you're talking about a product. So maybe, so clothing, I think sometimes I feel like it could be a little easier because people wear it outside, things like that. But what happens if I sell like a candle? Like, you know, it's your platform. You
would be very surprised. So since growing our platform, we have now like 11,000 or so active influencers, all with like 10,000 to 10 million followers. Like we have a minimum there. And then we've grown our brand side. So different businesses, we've grown that to about 5,000 businesses. So it's a triumphant feat for us to get to that point. But having grown it from 0 businesses to 5,000, we've seen a plethora of very unique businesses want to work with influencers. A candle is one example. Philanthropic ventures, new services, travel agents, real estate, like you name it, a lot of different variety comes in the door. So with products of all different types, like physical products, that's really like the bread and butter of influencer marketing,
Right.
because you can use the creators to create these like emotion-filled, experience-driven pieces of content that show off the product itself. So like, let's say your candle smells like fresh cut grass in the park. I'm going to use a unique example.
My allergies, man, my allergies.
Oh yeah, that might not be too good this time of year. But let's say that it's a very unique brand that's selling a unique scent of candle.
Right.
Well, you could type that out in the product description online, and you could say, hey, this smells like, I don't know, the fresh cut grass. I have a candle right here that's winter in New England.
Okay.
Right? I like cool candles, so it's a good example. But maybe you could send it to a girl that has 75,000 followers, and she loves
Mm.
making very aesthetic based content. The
Mm-hmm.
type of videos on Instagram that you look at, you're like, wow, that was so clean. And like, she definitely just got a manicure and she this with 7 different softwares, and like
Right.
it's just so clean and put together. Maybe she goes out in the field and takes a video of that in the grass, and
Mm.
she's smelling it all and it smells identical. Well,
Mm.
now with that one video, you could use that video as your product imagery on your website
Mm-hmm.
and be like, hey, look how other people are experiencing this product,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like senses, how things taste, how things look and feel. Those are all
Mm-hmm.
things you can't see through a screen, and
Right.
you can't necessarily sell easily through traditional ads. You
Mm-hmm.
need that like layer of trust and that layer of communication of like, how does that product, how is it really perceived and experienced
Mm-hmm.
in order to convey the selling prop of it? And I think that with influencer marketing, it's done flawlessly.
So when let's say I am a new customer Christian and I'm going on, and because of what I've seen out there on the internet, if I want to do the commercial myself or the space myself, I gotta
Mhm.
write out a script or I need to have an idea. So am I responsible for writing a script for these influencers, or because they are already in that creative space, they're already it's already built into what they're going to provide?
Yeah, good question. So it's the answer is both. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to be strict and you have a script,
Mm-hmm.
some brands on our platform are very big. They're enterprise brands,
Right.
and they need
Right.
it to be exactly like this. And that content goes through legal before it's approved, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
some of those brands that are a lot larger, that's what they want, is they want a script followed. But what we see work best is like a lot of the mid-market and SMB companies and
Mm-hmm.
smaller based companies that work with us, they tell the creator, hey, just make sure you show the logo. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure it's very creative. Make sure it's exactly like what your audience wants to see.
Mm-hmm.
An example I'll give is this new protein bar that is in Whole Foods. They're distributed across the country. So they use
Mm-hmm.
our platform and they work with a lot of fitness
Mm-hmm.
brands. It's a protein bar and it's non-GMO called Peak Protein. They're a great brand. And what they've done is they've worked with some fitness influencers on our platform and they
Okay.
said, listen, integrate this brand into your lifestyle, into how you're consuming protein after the gym, before the gym, however you
Mm-hmm.
want to do that. And that's the outline that the influencers can take. And
Okay.
we saw over the past week, there's been like 45 or so different posts that go out. And we look through them all, and like each post is different.
Mm-hmm.
And each type of creator is different because they've grown their audience to that point of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, millions of people. So they know
Mm-hmm.
what the audience wants to see. And it's up to them to make content that's going to actually fit in their content flow to
Mm-hmm.
pertain to what their audience wants. Like if a fitness influencer one day goes out and is telling you how to sell car insurance or how to buy a new car, you
Mm-hmm.
might be like, that's weird. I didn't know that he or she or they did that. I was just kind of here because I really like how they work out.
Right. Right.
Like it's matching the product or the service up with the lifestyle of the influencer
Mm-hmm.
so that the consumers, the people watching it, they don't just swipe past it and say, oh, that's an ad.
Mm-hmm. So now Christian, I've spoken to you, and you've paired me. I don't want to get into the whole process, because if you want to know what the process is with this, contact Christian. Of course, the website and information will be in the show notes, right? But we've had a discussion, we've talked this through, but you know what? Most of my content is on Facebook. I have not created an Instagram. I have not created a Twitter, or maybe even, as you stated, TikTok, right? So will you even encourage me to maybe branch out to other social media platforms, I should say, or will you directly put me in contact with an influencer that is maybe specializes in Facebook or something like that?
Yeah, so a couple different parts to this answer. So
Mm-hmm.
part is like how our platform works and is built is that you come onto our platform and then you create the campaign yourself. So it
Okay.
takes like 4 minutes, 4 easy pages. We've really distilled it down to like just asking for the most important information. Like
Mm-hmm.
what does your product do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Upload some photos. Is there a specific age range you want, gender of the influencers, and you really set that. And then you say, what type of content you want and on what social media platform.
Okay.
So, for example, you would say Facebook, and then once you get to Facebook, we know all the Facebook post types. So there's a Facebook feed post.
Mm-hmm.
That typically is just an image. It's static, and then there's a caption. Or there's a Facebook video, which is the Reels.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do that. You could do a story. In the story, you could have the link in the bio. So we add all the options there, and it's kind of an a la carte play for brands to pick what they want. Now, when working on our platform, our customer success team is built of a bunch of people very similar to myself, Gen Z focused, influencer marketing, savants, I will say. And what we do is we work with all of our brands to make sure that they're set up for success. So in your scenario, when we look at and say you just have a Facebook page, well, that's great. When you launch the campaign on our platform, we're going to say only influencers on Facebook can apply. So they would need to have a specific size following on Facebook to even raise their hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. And then you can go through and accept them, chat with them, do all that on our platform. But on top of that, we would definitely suggest to create an Instagram page, to create a Twitter, to create a TikTok, and to create a YouTube, because every single different platform that your brand exists on is another place to gain new audience members, new potential customers, and new people being exposed to it. And going back to what we said in the beginning, influencer marketing doesn't have to be expensive, and social media is free.
Right.
So like it really boils down to the effort and how much content you want to put out there. But to any entrepreneur listening to this, I advise to make accounts on all these platforms. Just try to make some content.
Right.
If you have a physical product, just show it off, put songs in the background. There's a lot of ways you can learn how to get good at TikTok. But you'd be surprised how some videos, if they're well made and you're really showing your unique value prop, could get in front of hundreds of thousands of people in ways that you just can't do for free elsewise.
So now I have talked to you, you've walked me through this process, and you know what, Christian? I have looked into other platforms, and you said, hey, this is mine, right? I own this. Yep. But there's other platforms that says it's only a licensing thing. You know, so am I able to take that one video and use it on other platforms, even though we've talked about Facebook? Or is it such a situation where I'm going to have to ask for permission? I got to go back out to the influencer to ask for their permission, things like that.
Yeah. So in the influencer marketing industry, how it's been set up historically is that when like an influencer works with a brand, typically like if the influencer is large or they have managers, agents, they'll try to like set up these deals on licensing rights and content licensing. So like, oh, you can only use my content for 60 days or something.
Right.
We want to empower the creators to make the best content. We want to empower the brands to be happy with it. And so with that, what we've done is we make it so that all of this content is owned by the brands forever. So when an influencer makes a piece of content for your brand through our platform, the influencer will submit it because we have our iOS native application where they just upload that content very easily. And then it goes to the brand side on the computer and they look at it and they say, do you approve this? Or do you want to request feedback? So once they've approved it, then that content gets stored in their asset library, their content library. And with one click, they can download that and do whatever they want with it.
That's nice. Forever. That's nice. You know, and I brought that up because I've heard some other clients of mine talk about they've been looking for a solution very similar to what you're providing, you know, where everything is licensing and I have to, like you said, 60 days, 90 days, maybe even 180 days. Now, all of a sudden, I can't use it anymore. Or I can only use it in the back room. I can't use it out on social media. I only could use it on my whiteboard in my conference room, you know. So, I think those are some important questions, you know, or solutions that y'all provide to those questions. Then, you know, because sometimes we feel as though you said, hey, first of all, we're not even that expensive. You know, we're not $20,000 totally upfront, you know, you know, because sometimes we think of influencers like that. Are they going to want 20 grand? Because unfortunately, we think everybody is greedy. Right. You know.
So what I've seen, this little bit of experience from these past few years is that, so influencers can set their rates on our platform. We see rates all the way from $100 to $100,000, right? We've seen the cream of the crop in all ways. But what we've done is we've created an open market, and I think that this concept is really interesting. So if an influencer, let's call her Jay, if Jay says she wants $500 for a TikTok video because she has 5 million followers, that's great, right? A brand can go in and buy that piece of content, work with her, do that directly based on her price. But what we've done, excuse me, is in our campaign creation process, if the brand says, hey, I'm going to pay $200 for this one video, thing you know, Jay might apply to that. So it's very amazing to see how, like, yes, there is the stigma that influencers cost $20, $30, $50,000 and they're going to be in your Super Bowl ad, and you have to only do that when you're getting Kim Kardashian.
Right.
That's not the case, because there's so many people out there that are really good at making content and also want $200. Because all day long, people make videos on TikTok for free because they like posting on TikTok. So as we've introduced this idea of an open market, we've actually seen tons and tons of influencers with 1+ million followers apply to deals for $150, $250, $350, because like they want to do the work. So I think that that's really interesting, because that completely bashes the stigma that influencer marketing has to be this big, expensive behemoth of a project, and you have to go through agents and managers, and next thing you know, you have Leonardo DiCaprio wearing your hat and you're bankrupt, and Johnny Depp's coming out with a new cologne, right? It doesn't need to be at that level.
Right.
We had a brand just the other day that worked with an influencer who has 5.2 million followers. She made 2 pieces of content. She posted on TikTok. It got nearly 400,000 views. Brand paid $380. So they wanted brand awareness. So for that $380 to get, it'll come out to, once the video matures a little bit, it'll come out to about 500,000 views. It costs 30 grand to get 500,000 views on Facebook ads.
Right.
You're just doing it broad or hyper targeted.
Right.
And our broad targeting through that motion costs $380. And so it's like, we're just trying to find new ways to open up the door of influencer marketing to new brands and to businesses that are already paying for ads, because to us is a new advertising way. It's a new platform for advertising, and the creators are the vehicle. It's like the creators are placing those ads to their audience.
Right.
And so it doesn't need to be super expensive and scary.
Wow, Christian, man, that's a lot of information, bro. So let me ask you this question. Where can someone reach out to you and talk to you about their ideas, how to, grow their brand, awareness, or, sales, whatever it might be? Where can they reach out to you and your spectacular team to grow whatever someone might be interested in?
Yeah, so funny enough, Glewee is free to use for businesses. So it's free to make an account. It's free to launch a campaign. So you can launch a campaign and see which influencers applied to work with you. Then from there, you have to send contracts and put money through the platform. But when you join our platform and you just go to www.glewee.com, spelled GLEWEE.com, and you press create free account, you'll be brought into our platform where you'll have your brand account. You can launch a campaign, and within 24 hours, a member from our team is going to call you and offer our service of, hey, do you want help launching your campaign? Do you want help setting up your social media profiles, making sure that you're set up for success? Because when brands are successful, Glewee is successful.
Right.
And when Glewee is successful, creators are successful. So we're constantly fueling this flywheel of motion. So you can create a free account in our platform. If anyone ever has questions about anything influencer marketing or social media marketing, you can always email me at chris@glewee.com. I'm always open to answering any and all questions. And yeah, join Glewee today.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it, man. So, of course, all this information will be in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about it. In case you're driving, you don't have to write it. You can't write it down. It's going to be there for you whenever you get a moment to take a look at it. But Chris, thank you very much for coming on today.
Yeah, Maurice, thank you so much for having me.
So, but Chris, before I let you go, I gotta ask you my question, man. My would you rather question, right?
What do we got?
Would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
Hmm. 3 doors or a fork in the road? I'm going with 3 doors.
And why 3 doors?
Because, okay, so a fork in the road, I can see that it's going 2 different ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's very definitive. I'm like, okay, I could go option A or option B,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you go down option A, you're like, oh man, option B actually looks pretty nice. I don't really like only having 2 options because I think in life it's not binary.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways to get things done, and there's so many solutions to every problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really A or B in like a binary sense. So
Mm-hmm.
I got to go with 3 doors because in my mind, they're all going to open up to the same party.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really fun. They're just kind of angled differently.
Right,
I don't
right.
really think one of the doors is going to be like, oh, this is really boring and lame. I'm going to walk out of it. And the other door is going to have like a gold mine in it. I think like in my mind, they're all going to open to like really cool adventures, no matter which
Mm-hmm.
one I pick.
Mm-hmm.
So I like more options.
Nice, nice. So, Chris, I've been thinking about it. So for those of you who are listening and you like this would you rather question, Chris actually proposed another type of would you rather question, right? So I'm gonna answer his would you rather question. Chris, would you like to ask it?
Ask it to
Yeah,
you?
you can ask it to me.
All right. And background here, we've asked this to every single employee that we've hired for our company across the hundreds of interviews we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it so fascinating. I think it's so interesting. It's intuitive. It's fun. It gets you going. So I'll just ask it straight up. There's no right or wrong answer. So, Maurice, would you rather be a tree or a river, and why?
So I've been thinking about this since you've asked, and I believe I would like to be a tree.
Okay.
All right. I think one, I don't like to move too fast. So a river might be too fast. It could be too slow. It could have too many branches, and it could have electric eels in it. Like my brain went all crazy in here, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think with the tree, I'm able to suck in the community. You know, get the understanding. Hey, you know, the sun is beaming down on me. You know, I'm able to enrich the ground one way or another. You know, enrich any other animals that are around. Even though the river can do that too. But, you know, depending on where the river is, it might dry up, you know, or, you know, whatever. And, you know, or whatever's feeding it. So I think there might be way too many other factors in the river for me. So I think I would like to be more of a tree and provide covering for people that I love, right? Or animals that I love or whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I think I'd like to be more of a tree.
I love that. Fantastic. And you covered many, many grounds that I've learned about trees ever since asking this. And I think that you had a fantastic answer.
Thanks, man. I think your answer about the 3 doors, man, like it was, you know, again, it's different. None of these have any parameters. So it's just, it's just a fun way of just sharing how we think.
It really is. It's how you think. And a lot of people think quantitatively, a lot of people think qualitatively, but this is kind of thinking outside the box in your own sense. And it's really just like, you're posed with 2 questions. When you ask that, typically like when I asked the tree or river question, and I was doing this when you asked me the fork or 3-door question, like I can see myself thinking about the scenarios.
Right.
And like typically in work, you don't really see the future like that. You're kind of thinking like, okay, these numbers plus this is that, right? Or it's pretty A to B. So I think it's a really cool way to just think outside of the box and just experiment.
Right. Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, Maurice, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Sure, and continue to listen to That Will Never Work podcast.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?